All right, well, in today's video, I'm going to walk you through the application process and strategy I would use to apply for an elk tag in the state of Utah. And there's a lot of variables in Utah's draw process, and Randy and I detailed pretty much everything involved in Utah's elk draw process in episode 17 of the Elk Talk podcast. So what I'm going to go into today is more of my personal application strategy. I actually hunted Utah 5 or 6 years ago, and they have a wait period after you draw tags, so you're not able to apply. So what I'm going to look at is if I was to get started again today looking at Utah. So I have no points in Utah, and this year would be my first year being able to get back into the draw. So I'm going to look at that. I'm going to look at some odds for those who might have 7 to 10 points, and talk about how I use GoHUNT Insider to help me research units within each state, today specifically focusing on Utah. So if you go to GoHunt.com, if you're a member of Insider, you can click on Insider at the top of the page, brings you to the Insider homepage, and there's two main areas I look at here as I'm trying to determine where to hunt within a state. The first one are the draw odds, which we'll take a look at that. And then the next one is the units and areas within each state. So over on the right hand side, real handy template here with all the dates and deadlines. You'll see that Utah's application deadline is March 7th of this year. And if you just want to get a bonus point or a preference point in Utah, you're looking at March 21st. So with that information, we're going to jump in. I'm going to look at draw odds first. So as I go in here, this has all been recently updated. GoHunt's completely redone their website, and it's very fast. As always, still incredibly powerful as a resource for planning your hunts. Looking here, I'm a non-resident, so I'll select the non-resident tab. Under elk, we've got elk limited entry. Now Utah does have some over-the-counter elk hunts available. Within draw odds, though, this is only looking at limited entry hunts. So I'm going to click on elk, and it's going to bring up every hunt. We've got archery, we've got muzzleloader, we've got early rifle, and we've got late rifle. And it's showing us our draw odds based on 0 points, which is where I am. Now, for me, I'm going to be most interested in the archery hunt. For Utah this year, the date, it opens on August 18th and closes on September 14th. So a little bit early for what most states are. You're going to be just touching into the rut with that archery hunt. From there, they go right into their rifle hunt the next day. And I think it's an 8-day rifle hunt. As soon as the rifle hunt ends, they go into their muzzleloader hunt. So rifle is kind of the one that if you want to hunt during the peak of the rut, you're going to want to look at. Archery will get you a little bit in the rut, but not too much, and you're going to be hunting a lot of that early season pre-rut phase for the elk. So for me, I have 0 points this year. I spent 10 points 5 years ago and drew a pretty good hunt there in Utah. They have a wait period where you can't apply for hunts or build points for 5 years after you've drawn. So I could get back in this year. I'm on the fence whether I will or not, and I think today's video will kind of help me decide. So looking at archery only, I'm going to go down here and select the season, and I'm going to select archery, and that's going to get rid of all the other hunts. So all that's going to be shown are the archery hunts in Utah. Now at 0 points, as you start looking through, I'm guessing there's probably 20, maybe 25 units here in Utah for archery hunting for elk. The first one with 0 points, I have a 0.07% chance of drawing. So that's pretty much no chance. As you scroll down through here, there's one here. It must not have any non-resident tags. It's the Meadowville Cache unit. The North Cache unit, I've got a 4.6 chance of drawing with 0 points. As I scroll down a little farther, we've got the Anthro 9-mile unit, 3.8% chance of drawing. The Ochre Stansberry, 6.2% chance of drawing. And nothing else in the entire state is above a 2% chance of drawing. So not good odds if you have 0 points. Utah does issue half of the tags on preference, so those with the most points receive half of the tags that are allotted for that unit. The other half go into the bonus round, and you're just given preference based on how many points you have. So everyone does have a chance of drawing a tag if there are 2 or more tags issued in a unit in Utah, but you can see obviously the success rates of drawing those tags are very low. So for me, looking at 0 points, there's no chance. So what I'm going to look at is when I get to 5 points, how that changes some of my odds of drawing. Now at 5 points, we're highlighted here. If we look at the Nebo Central Mountain Unit, we've got a 6.7% chance of drawing with 5 points. So we scroll down through the Wasatch Mountains, an 8.5% chance of drawing with 5 points. So at least we're getting into a range where we can say, well, I have a chance of drawing, I probably won't, but 10% chance of drawing is decent. The problem with Utah is the point creep. And when we look at the Wasatch unit, it now takes 12 points to be guaranteed to draw the Wasatch archery tag. When I started applying about 14 years ago in Utah, that same tag took 2 points as a non-resident to draw. So in 14 years, it's increased by 10 points. So that's point creep. And as we look at 5 years from now, and I'm looking at an 8.5% chance of drawing Wasatch, those odds are going to go down in the next 5 years. And if I up that to 10 points, now we're on the 10-point line. And again, everything is low, 2% or lower. The Manti unit's at 5%. Everything else there is low. Three Corners, North Slopes at 5%. The Paunsaugunt, I am 100% guaranteed to draw the Paunsaugunt elk tag with 10 points. And that's actually the only archery tag in the state of Utah I'm guaranteed to draw with 10 points. So that tells me there's something going on, either a lot of private land, low elk population. A lot of those southern units in Utah, they've really tried to, I won't say decimate, but greatly lower the elk herds. And I'm guessing that's what's going on here, if it's the easiest tag to draw in the state. If we look at Wasatch, we went from 5 points with an 8.5% chance of drawing. We're at 10 points with a 15% chance of drawing. So again, not great. The Wasatch was guaranteed with 12 points last year. Aside from the Paunsaugunt, that is the only other tag that you can be guaranteed to draw with 12 points in Utah. So that just gives you kind of an overview of your odds of drawing a tag if you were just getting into the game now. It's not very rosy. There are definitely other states that would provide you with greater chances of drawing a quality elk tag in less than 10 or 12 years. With that being said, there are some benefits to hunting in Utah. There are some great bulls. They do manage some of the units for the higher age class and more quality trophy type hunting. For me, looking at these draw odds, the Wasatch is a decent unit, but it's not a great unit. And for me to invest 12 years of buying a license at $60 or $65 and applying, there's probably other areas that I'll look at and other states I'll look at. That's actually why Randy and I combined Utah and Nevada into one podcast, because both of those states are probably, if you're a non-resident just looking to get into the draw in those states, they're probably low on the list of ones that I would recommend. From there, though, let's jump over and take a look at filtering 2.0. And when we go into filtering 2.0, we're going to be able to look at Utah and then start selecting some of the criteria that we might want to have be a part of the process of us deciding whether to apply or not. I'm going to start with limited entry, which is what we were just looking at, the draw odds. Again, very low chances of drawing a tag if you're just getting in. But once we get done there, I'm going to jump down and look at some of the over-the-counter units that Utah has available in their general tags that you can just buy over the counter and go hunt. So as we look at limited entry elk, you'll notice all of the little orange areas. Those are the elk units that are available for hunting in Utah. I'm going to leave the trophy potential where it is at 330 plus, which basically every unit in the state of Utah is going to have that 330 plus potential. Residency, I'm going to select non-resident. I've got 0 points, and I'm currently set at 0% chance of drawing. So every unit in the state's going to have at least a 0% chance of drawing with 0 points. The problem is when we bump up to just 10% with 0 points, all of the units disappear with the exception of Meadowville Cache. And I don't know anything about that unit. I'm guessing there's very few tags, maybe no non-resident tags, which is why it's showing up. As we drag the minimum draw odds down to 5% with 0 points, we get one more unit, the Ochre Stansberry unit. Now this is looking at every hunt. So archery, muzzleloader, rifle, early rifle, late rifle, everything. If you have 0 points, there is only one unit in the state that you have a 5% chance of drawing. If we go down to 1%, there's going to be a few more that pop up, but honestly, out of the entire state, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 units that you have a 1% chance of drawing with 0 points. So let's jump down and just take a look at archery. And if we go archery only, we know that with 0 points we have really no chance of drawing. But with a 1% or greater chance, there are about 7 or 8 units, and we can get a good glimpse of them. So the Meadowville Cache, we're showing 340 plus potential. Bull to cow ratio is 13 to 100. Quite a bit of public land. Draw odds are fairly good. Harvest success is 18%. So there's at least, if you have 0 points, you're a 33% chance of drawing that archery tag, and maybe there's an opportunity to hunt there. As we scroll down through the rest of them, draw odds are low: 4.6%, 1.4%, 1.2%, 3.8%, 6.2%, 1.5, 1.2. So very low chance of drawing with 0 points. But you'll notice harvest success, 40%, 34%, bull to cow ratios, 33 to 100, 35 to 100, 26 to 100. The South Cache is 13 to 100. So if you were looking to jump in and wanted to apply for a tag and wanted to have somewhat of a chance of drawing this year, this Filtering 2.0 gives you a good overview of what tags are available, and you can really quickly look through and see South Cache is 15% harvest rate with 13 to 100, bull to cow ratio, draw odds of 1.4%, probably not something we'd be interested in. So anyways, as we bump up, let's put in 10 points here. And with 10 points, let's move it up to a 10% draw odd. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units in the state of Utah that if I wanted to draw an archery elk tag and I have 10 points, I've got at least a 10% chance of drawing. If I want harvest success, I want it to be 20% or higher. We'll drag that over. And it looks like all of the units for the most part are going to stay. So most of the units have a 20% or higher success rate for archery. From there again, we can start looking through the units and we can pick out which ones have the good bull to cow ratios, which one have the high harvest success rates, and kind of make a decision on how to use our 10 points if we're looking at drawing a tag this year. So based on that, a real quick overview: the Ochre Stansberry has 35 to 100. Bull to cow ratio, about half of the units public land, and they've got a harvest success rate of about 50%. So that might be one that I flag and look into. Wasatch Mountain has similar bull to cow ratio. Harvest success is a little lower, a little more public land, and again with 10 points, I'm only 15% draw odds for that tag. So anyway, Filtering 2.0 is kind of, as I look at this right now, there are no units in Utah that really excite me with 10 points. And if I have 0 points right now, I know that in 10 years it's probably going to take 12 to 15 points or maybe even more to draw those same tags. So I really have no interest in applying for a controlled hunt in Utah this year. However, if you have points and you've been building points, Filtering 2.0 is going to show you realistically what you can expect, what your draw odds this year, what it's going to take for a certain unit to draw in the future. So with that being said, I'm going to jump back up because Utah has some over-the-counter elk tags. And I'm going to click elk over-the-counter. I'm going to leave the trophy potential set as low as it'll go, so 300 inches or better. So any of these units in Utah, you're going to have the potential of finding a 300-inch bull in that over-the-counter unit. For the season, I'm going to select archery, and it's going to filter us from there. As I go down public land, I'm going to want at least 50% public land. That's going to probably get rid of a couple. And harvest success, I'm going to leave it at 0. Anything higher than 0. And you will see in the state of Utah, over the counter, if you want 50% public land or more, you only have 3 units that are over the counter. And now I can look here on the list and see the East Rich Cash unit. The bull to cow ratio is 13 to 100. Harvest success rate is 10%. If I look at the Range Creek 9-mile unit, which is here in kind of central eastern Utah, bull to cow ratio is 49 to 100, and success rate is only 8%. So that tells me with 72% public land, it either is really hard access, meaning not good trailheads, or there's just very few elk in that unit. The bull to cow ratio is phenomenal, but 8% harvest success rate tells me there's either a ton of people hunting it or there's very few elk, which makes me a little nervous to buy a tag there. And the last unit is the Zion unit. Again, bull to cow ratio 13 to 100, harvest success 7%. Just to get a better idea, I'm going to look at public land 25% or more, and there are no other units that pop up. I'm going to look at 0, and Chalk Creek is on there, and it is 10% public land, so not much public land. So of those, probably that 9-mile Range Creek unit is going to be one that I would look into for an over-the-counter hunt. Features rugged and remote terrain, holds a good number of elk. Most are found on large private tracts or remote sectors of public land. So good elk populations, most of them are on the private land. That's why success rate is low and the bull to cow ratio is high. So we can go down, we can see harvest success rates have been 11%, 11%, 19%, 11%, 8%. So hovering around that 10%, which honestly for a over-the-counter archery tag is probably about average. Muzzleloader, there's a muzzleloader hunt in there as well. So not a lot of real exciting options for Utah for over-the-counter either. They do have one more category, and that's the extended archery elk tag. And for the extended archery elk tag, it's archery only, and it's a long season. I think the season runs from like August to mid-December. And you've got the Wasatch Front and the Uinta Basin are the 2 areas that you can look at. So if you wanted to get that tag, let's just say we're looking at the Wasatch Front. The unit is the western edge of the Wasatch Range from Draper to Ogden. It's open to bow hunting for 4 months, and anybody with an over-the-counter archery elk tag can take part. So those 2 units, the Wasatch Front and the Uinta Basin, are an over-the-counter tag with an incredibly long season. Most of the unit, at least on the Wasatch Front, is going to be winter range. So as those elk get pushed down in November and December, that's probably when you're going to find the majority of the elk in that unit. Just looking down at some of the statistics, your average quality it's showing is raghorn, trophy potential is raghorn. Now obviously it's a Wasatch unit, it's winter range, so there could be some bigger bulls, but this is not a hunt that you're going to go and purchase the tag and show up for and expect to hold out for a trophy bull. It says this unit has low hunter success, harsh weather, and most of the elk are in hard to access areas. High pressure can cause elk to move several miles, ambushing elk, baiting, glassing from low elevation, spot and stalk. Some of those tactics are what they're suggesting. And the season actually runs from August 18th through December 15th. So it's a long season, but again, a lot of pressure, not as many elk in there during the peak of the rut. So that's as sad as it is, that's the overview of Utah. And Utah is probably in the bottom 2 western states for me to recommend for someone looking at applying for an elk tag or even going over the counter. If you know someone who lives there and they have access to areas that they've scouted, that they're familiar with, that they know they can find elk, the over-the-counter option might not be a bad one. But to blindly try to research some of these areas and select Utah as an over-the-counter option, I would probably not only recommend against it, but strongly recommend against hunting elk in Utah. On the flip side, if you've been building points there and you're in that process, there are some incredible hunts that you can draw through the limited entry process that GoHUNT Insider definitely provides some good overview information of what units are available based on your point level. So that's my wrap for Utah. Again, if you're not a member of GoHUNT Insider, you can go to gohunt.com/elk101. And when you sign up, GoHUNT is going to send you a $50 gift card to the Elk 101 store. And you're going to have access to the most powerful resource for planning your hunts and finding areas within states, areas within units to go and successfully hunt elk on. So we're going to be doing another one of these videos. I believe Montana is next up on the list. And if we go over to the Insider homepage and look at our application deadlines, we have Montana deer elk coming up on March 15th. So Montana will be next, followed by New Mexico, and Nevada will be in there as well, coming up soon, Colorado, several other videos. So stay tuned for more, and thanks for joining us today in this one.